When I was younger, the idea of prison was a distant concept. It felt unfamiliar, like something that existed far away from my life and community. My only experience with these institutions were the unrealistic Criminal Minds episodes that my sister liked to watch during school. That began to change when I started volunteering at a local soup kitchen called Haley House, driven by a desire to give back to the community, but unaware of just how profoundly it would change my understanding of the world. I recognize that I speak about these issues from a place of privilege, as someone who has not experienced the justice system firsthand, but has had the opportunity to listen, learn, and reflect. The stories that I've heard are a testament to both the failures of the system and the resilience of the human spirit. These aren't just stories of statistics and policies. They're stories of real people whose lives have been shaped by the choices our society has made about crime and punishment. The American justice system often leaves people completely unprepared for re-entry into society, with little to no support to address the struggles which resulted in their incarceration. Instead of being a place to heal or grow, prison deepens those struggles, often trapping people in cycles that can feel impossible to escape. Our justice system, designed for punishment instead of progress, fails to guide people forward. During my time at Haley House, I've had the privilege of meeting many individuals whose lives have been deeply affected by the justice system. I had meals with the guests, and I supported people in ways that I never expected. I listened to their stories, heard their challenges, and began to realize just how deeply their lives had been affected by the criminal legal system. I came to understand that while prison matches some of the images we have in our heads, with cold concrete, metal bars, and isolation, many of the real challenges don't begin until after people are released. The American justice system faces numerous problems, from budget issues to humanitarian crises. A report from the Prison Policy Initiative found that the United States spends over $182 billion per year on correctional facilities, salaries, and other related costs. This enormous investment often funds staff and procedures that further harm incarcerated individuals. According to a report from the Bureau of Justice Statistics, in 2018, 42% of sexual assaults in prison were perpetrated by correctional staff. These aren't just numbers. These are human lives. When I learned these statistics, I was struck by an overwhelming sense of urgency to confront the profound injustices of a system that not only failed to protect, but actually inflicted further harm upon the very people that it claimed to rehabilitate. Additionally, the privatization of prisons, where private companies operate correctional facilities for profit, has created a system that thrives on incarceration over rehabilitation. These companies earn money based on the number of people within their walls, allowing for the development of a system that values profit over the well-being of individuals. The takeaway is clear. Private prisons don't rehabilitate. They perpetuate cycles of crime and incarceration because that's what makes money. The most heartbreaking part of the justice system to me, though, isn't the statistics or the numbers, but the consequences that it has on real people. The stories that I will share today capture real struggles people have faced within the justice system, but the names have been changed to preserve anonymity. One individual that I met during my time at the soup kitchen is a man that I'll call Rob. Rob quickly became a familiar face. He had a knack for making people laugh. He once told me that some meatballs I had made looked like dodo bird eggs. Rob had a big personality. He would sing along to the music and even join in on duets when people would play the piano. But beneath that lightheartedness, I could tell he was struggling. Then Rob disappeared. When he came back, things were different. I learned that he had been incarcerated, and whatever he'd endured during that time had deeply affected him. The laughter was gone, replaced by anger. He would lash out at staff, guests, even the volunteers. Eventually, it got to a point where he was banned from every other soup kitchen in the local area. Seeing someone I knew, someone who had been so full of life, change like that, it hit me hard. It made me feel angry, frustrated, and heartbroken all at once. It made me realize that the system wasn't just failing people like Rob, it was actively damaging them, leaving behind scars that ran even deeper than what they had had to face before. I also met a man who I'll call Jim, who spent several decades in prison. Over time, he shared with me what re-entry had been like for him, and one story in particular stood out. He told me about how, after his release, he had gone with some friends to buy a smartphone. Upon walking into the store, he was surrounded by technology that he had never used or even seen before. Laptops, smartwatches, iPads, things he had only ever heard about. At first, he was excited, but as he continued to look around, things quickly became overwhelming. The experience ended with him having a panic attack right there in the store. Jim's story showed me just how profoundly isolating prison can be. It's not just about missing out on a few years. It's about emerging into a world that has moved on without you. It's the kind of thing that you would never think about unless you heard it firsthand, how something as ordinary as a trip to the store can become a moment of panic and confusion, highlighting just how much prison strips away the ability to function in the outside world. Hearing these stories made me realize the importance of a system that focused on rehabilitation instead of punishment. There were always glimpses of hope, proof that with the right resources, people could always move past their lives and get past the things that had been holding them down. For instance, I met two individuals who had participated in an educational re-entry program. During their time incarcerated, they had the chance to take classes, and both of them earned an associate's degree while they were still in prison. After being released, they were able to use their new skills and education to secure steady jobs. And one of them is now working towards a bachelor's degree, and the other has full-time employment in a great position. Hearing their stories was inspiring. It was proof that with the right resources, people could move forward, that they could truly be rehabilitated if they were just given a chance. It made me realize how important of a tool education can be, especially in the prison system. And it also made me realize the importance of a system that doesn't just punish, but heals. When I started out on this journey, I knew that I would be working with formerly incarcerated people who had been through a lot of trauma. But what I didn't realize was that the justice system could be the root of it all. If only Rob had access to the resources that he needed when he first entered the system, then maybe he wouldn't have been trapped in a cycle of despair. If we further prioritized education and skill-building programs, then maybe more people would leave prison ready to rebuild their lives. If we treated incarceration as an opportunity to heal and grow, instead of just to further punish and isolate, then maybe some of the people that I met at Haley House would be in a better position today. These are simple changes that could transform lives, and they're changes we must fight for. Nelson Mandela once said that a nation should not be judged by how it treats its highest citizens, but its lowest ones. By that metric, I believe we must do better. These people deserve a world where the justice system is based on rehabilitation instead of punishment, where principles like dignity and second chances are not exceptions, but expectations. The current system dehumanizes people, often trapping them in cycles of poverty and incarceration, leaving little room for hope or growth. I envision a system that prioritizes restorative justice, invests in mental health and addiction services, and opens new doors for education and skill-building programs. While I recognize that I alone cannot right the deeply rooted injustices that perpetuate these cycles, it is important that we spark difficult conversations about what justice looks like in America. Fortunately, we don't have to start from scratch. There are successful models of rehabilitation-based justice systems around the world that we can already learn from. Countries like Norway and Finland exemplify systems that prioritize rehabilitation over punishment, achieving remarkable results in reducing recidivism and fostering safer societies. Norway's approach to incarceration prioritizes humane treatment and personal growth, featuring private spaces, communal rooms, psychological counseling, and skill-building programs. This has resulted in Norway having a recidivism rate of roughly 20%, one of the lowest in the world, according to UC Berkeley. They're focusing on developing responsibility and self-worth among inmates. Norway is able to set a global standard for rehabilitation. Similarly, Finland employs an innovative open prison system where inmates have the opportunity to work, train, or go to school during the day. This has resulted in the Finnish government reporting a recidivism rate of roughly 37%, one of the lowest in the world, and it's among inmates with one prior sentence, showing how this form of treatment can break cycles of incarceration and set people up for success in the future. Through focusing on gradual reintegration, community-based sanctions, and reducing the stigma that surrounds incarceration, these countries are able to set their prisoners up for success upon their release while also maintaining public safety. These examples show that change is not only possible, but essential. It's not just about copying what works elsewhere. It's about realigning our system with the principles of dignity, fairness, and second chances. One day, when people hear the word prison, they may no longer think of cold, metal walls, but instead of a space dedicated to growth, accountability, and second chances. This change is not only possible, but it aligns with our deeper moral responsibility to create a system that treats everyone with dignity, where principles like justice and redemption are available for everyone. And maybe, one day, when people hear the word prison, it'll no longer evoke the dramatized scenes from Criminal Minds or a simplistic image of punishment, but instead stand as a testament to humanity's ability to rise above its failures and embrace the potential of change. Thank you.